The studio lights of American Pulse glowed, an arena silently awaiting the clash of titans. In one corner, poised to defend her convictions, was Karoline Leavitt, a force to be reckoned with. At just 27, she'd ascended to the formidable role of White House press secretary, a meteoric rise that had etched her name into history books as the youngest ever to hold such a powerful position. Her loyalty to President Trump wasn't just political. It was a deeply ingrained conviction, a testament to the values she believed in and fiercely defended. Tonight, she wasn't just stepping onto a talk show stage. She was entering a battlefield, a coliseum where words would be her weapons and the truth her shield. The air crackled with anticipation, a palpable hum that promised more than just conversation. It promised an unadulterated showdown. Just days ago, the veteran Hollywood comedian Rosie O'Donnell had swaggered onto this very program, with a sneer and a microphone held aloft like a gladiatorial weapon. She had unleashed a volley of insults, loudly mocking President Trump's marriage to Melania. Rosie, with her signature bluster, had branded him an emotional con artist who can't keep a family together. This wasn't just typical Hollywood jabber, it was a direct personal assault aimed squarely at the man Karoline Leavitt served with unwavering devotion. For Leavitt, this wasn't mere political theater. It was a frontal assault on the very values she and the president stood for, a blatant disrespect she simply couldn't and wouldn't let slide. Before we dive deeper into this explosive confrontation, pause for a moment. Where are you watching from right now? Let us know in the comments below. Your voice matters in this unfolding narrative. And if you want to ensure you don't miss a single beat of this story or any of the latest, most impactful showdowns, hit that subscribe button right now. Give us a like if you're ready for the truth to be unveiled, because what's coming next is guaranteed to make headlines. The audience's murmurs faded into an expectant hush as the show's host, Jake Sullivan, stepped to the center of the stage. His professional smile, a practiced mask, barely concealed the tension simmering in his eyes. Welcome to today's talk show," he boomed, his voice resonating through the New York studio. "Tonight, we've got two special guests, and our first, a true titan of comedy, the veteran Rosie O'Donnell." A cacophony erupted, a mix of thunderous applause from her loyal fans, underscored by defiant boos from the fiercely vocal MAGA crowd. Rosie strode out from stage left, her stout figure exuding an almost predatory confidence. She raised the mic, a smirk spreading across her lips as she locked eyes with the polarized crowd, waving with an almost defiant swagger. Signs bobbed in the air. "Rosie tells the truth," her fans proclaimed, while the red-hatted throng roared, "Trump's the champ!" The studio felt less like a television set and more like a furnace, and Rosie, ever the provocateur, knew exactly how to stoke the flames. "Jake," Rosie began, her mocking tone instantly drawing laughs from her adoring fans, "I hear Trump's little MAGA girl is coming to defend him." She paused, letting the laughter subside, her gaze sweeping across the crowd. "But before she shows up, let me remind you of the truth you need to hear." Her voice dropped, growing more conspiratorial. "Donald Trump is the biggest emotional con artist America's ever seen. He's a three-wife guy, Ivana, Marla, and now Melania, who I bet hasn't genuinely smiled since their wedding day." Laughter rang out, punctuated by whistles, while the MAGA fans, incensed, began to yell, "Cut her mic!" Rosie, however, was undeterred. She gestured for quiet, then turned to Jake Sullivan, who attempted to interject, but was met with a dismissive wave. "Jake, have you seen Melania at events? Her face is like a wax figure, probably screaming inside, 'Somebody get me out of Mar-a-Lago!'" The audience exploded once more, a chaotic blend of laughter and indignant curses. Rosie stepped to the stage's edge, pointing dramatically at the giant screen behind her. "Don't take my word for it. Look at this." She hit a button, and a homemade comedy clip flickered to life. Trump, with his signature blonde hair, stood beside Melania in a fictional scene. A dubbed voice drawled, "Melania, honey, I just won the election again." Melania replied dryly, "Great, Donald. Now, win me an exit." The crowd roared with laughter, Rosie's fans leaping up, clapping wildly as MAGA supporters shouted, "Turn it off! Fake!" The 2-minute clip relentlessly jabbed at Trump's image, from Stormy Daniels' affair rumors to Melania packing suitcases with the caption, "To Slovenia now." When the screen went dark, Rosie turned back, hands on her hips, her expression triumphant. "That's the truth Trump doesn't want you to see. He's a failure in his own family, a narcissist living off The Apprentice delusions, and Melania is his biggest victim." Rosie's fans clapped thunderously, one holding a "Poor Melania" sign, while MAGA fans fought back, yelling, "Trump's our president." The gauntlet had been thrown, the battle had begun. Jake Sullivan, the embattled host, seized a rare lull in the roaring chaos. Rosie's fans were still cheering, some holding their "Poor Melania" signs aloft, but a restless energy was sweeping through the studio. His voice, shaky but professional, cut through the residual noise. "Thanks, Rosie, for that lively performance," he managed, wiping a bead of sweat from his brow. "And now, let's welcome our second guest, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt." The stage lights shifted, pulling focus, and from the shadowy wings, Karoline Leavitt emerged. She was petite, yes, but she radiated an undeniable strength, a quiet power that immediately commanded the eye. Her blonde hair gleamed under the searing lights, a halo of resolve. Her sharp eyes, honed by countless press briefings, scanned the vast, sprawling New York studio, taking in every face, every reaction. The confident click of her high heels on the floor was the only sound audible for a split second, a rhythmic declaration of her presence. Then an explosion. The MAGA fans, who had been simmering with outrage during Rosie's tirade, erupted. They leapt to their feet, cheering, their voices rising in a deafening chant, "Karoline! Karoline!" The chant drowned out the smattering of boos from Rosie's stunned supporters, who looked suddenly unsure, their earlier confidence faltering. The tension in the air, already taut, tightened further, stretching like a string ready to snap under the immense pressure of opposing wills. This wasn't just a talk show. It was a confrontation of ideologies, and Leavitt had just entered the arena. Leavitt didn't wait for Jake Sullivan to ask a question. She waved off his offered microphone, a dismissive flick of the wrist that signaled she was in control. With purpose in every stride, she moved directly to center stage, placing herself just feet away from Rosie O'Donnell, who now stood with a bemused, almost challenging smirk. Leavitt's gaze was unflinching, her posture a testament to her unwavering conviction. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice calm, clear, and cutting through the remaining noise like a finely sharpened blade. "I just heard Rosie O'Donnell spew a pile of lies about President Trump, someone I'm proud to serve." Her eyes, sharp and unwavering, locked onto Rosie. "I'm not here for Hollywood games. I'm here to defend the truth, the president's family, and the millions of Americans who trust him." A fresh wave of fury and applause erupted from the MAGA fans, who cheered wildly, some waving makeshift MAGA forever signs. Rosie's fans, by contrast, went conspicuously quiet, a few crossing their arms, their expressions wary, waiting for their idol's response. Leavitt turned her full attention back to Rosie, her eyes piercing. "Rosie, you think your tired jokes and cheap clip can take down the president? You're wrong." Her voice, now edged with a steel that resonated through the studio, was a dagger aimed directly at Rosie. "I've been with him from day one, as a White House intern, through campaigns, to his re-election. I know who Trump is, a man who built a family and a country with dedication you'll never grasp." Each word was delivered with precision, a calculated blow. "You call him an emotional con artist? I see a man who's been with Melania over 20 years. What about you, Rosie? 2 failed marriages and a dying career? Who's the failure here? Karoline's. Right, shouted the MAGA faithful, their voices booming. Rosie's supporters murmured, some booing weakly, their protests already losing ground. Jake Sullivan, seizing a slim opportunity, jumped in, trying to regain control. Karoline, thanks for that strong start, but Rosie... Leavitt cut him off, her gaze never leaving Rosie. No, Jake, I'm not done. Her voice dropped slightly, becoming more pointed, almost scornful. Rosie's a washed-up comedian living off old fame to attack others. She has no right to judge the president or anyone. Her circus act ends now, and I'm the one stopping it. Right here, right now. The ensuing MAGA applause thundered, completely, drowning out Rosie's fans' weakening protests. The lioness had been unleashed, and she was already dominating the pride. Karoline Leavitt's voice, a whip crack of conviction, silenced Jake Sullivan's feeble attempt to interject. Her eyes, still locked on Rosie, burned with an unwavering intensity. No, Jake, she repeated, the dismissive wave of her hand, clear signal that the host's efforts to mediate were futile. I'm not done. Rosie's a washed-up comedian, living off old fame to attack others. She has no right to judge the president or anyone. Her circus act ends now, and I'm the one stopping it right here, right now. The ensuing MAGA applause was a deafening thunder, completely drowning out the faint, sputtering protests from Rosie's rapidly diminishing fanbase. Leavitt took a deliberate step closer to Rosie, her voice dropping to a low, commanding tone that paradoxically cut through the roar of the crowd. Rosie, you messed up thinking you could attack the president's family without consequences. I'm not just press secretary, I'm the voice of Americans you've insulted with those lies. She paused, letting her words hang in the electrified air. Trump didn't just win once, he won twice, despite your Hollywood sneers. You're the loser, recycling stale comedy no one cares about. Rosie, gripping her mic tighter, raised an eyebrow, a flicker of something akin to alarm, or perhaps just genuine annoyance, visibly rattling her. But Leavitt, relentless, didn't let her reply. I'm here to defend the truth, and I won't let. You turn this stage into your personal circus, Leavitt continued, now turning to address the crowd directly, her hand sweeping outwards. You deserve the truth, not cheap jokes. MAGA fans surged to their feet again, a fresh wave of cheers echoing through the studio. One held a bold "Karoline Rules" sign aloft, while Rosie's fans grew restless, some muttering dissent, a few even shouting, "Rosie, fight back!" Jake Sullivan, desperate, raised a hand. "Karoline, Rosie, can we—" But Leavitt ignored him, her eyes, sharp as a blade, locked back on Rosie. "Rosie, you just stood there mocking President Trump with that nonsense clip." Leavitt cut in again, her voice slicing through the New York studio's charged atmosphere. She pointed sharply at the giant screen that had earlier shown Melania packing. "You think those stunts are proof? I'll show you real proof, and it'll tear your lies apart." The MAGA fans exploded, clapping furiously, their anticipation reaching a fever pitch, while Rosie's supporters fell into a stunned silence, some muttering in clear disbelief. Leavitt moved toward the center table, her blonde hair blazing under the intense lights. "You say Trump can't keep Melania? Look at the facts. They've been married over 20 years, a bond you couldn't handle." She spun back to Rosie, her eyes piercing. "Why mock them? Because you can't stand others succeeding where you failed. Your 2 marriages crashed. You don't know family, except how to tear it down with words." Shouts of "Karoline's right" rang out. Rosie flushed, her hand trembling around the mic, but her fans' weak shouts of "she's honest" were drowned in the overwhelming opposing applause. "You played that comedy clip for laughs," Leavitt pressed on, her voice firm, unwavering. "But here's real evidence," she signaled, and the screen behind them lit up. This time it showed a different image. Trump and Melania at a recent inauguration, hand in hand, smiling before millions. This is Melania, not your imagined suitcase. Woman, but a first lady standing strong with the president through every trial. MAGA fans leaped up, cheers booming, one waving a proud Melania Strong sign. Leavitt pointed at Rosie. You want to make them a joke, but that clip's just your jealousy, not truth. Rosie opened her mouth, but Leavitt didn't let her speak. Not done yet, she declared, stepping even closer. You call the president a con artist? You're the real fraud, Rosie. You promised viewers the Rosie O'Donnell show would be huge. It flopped, leaving staff jobless. You swore your Rosie magazine would thrive. It tanked, and you dodged. The blame! The crowd held its breath for a beat. Then MAGA cheers erupted. Karoline! Karoline! Rosie stumbled back, her face red, her hands shaking harder. Her fans tried to counter. She's brave! But Leavitt shook her head, a triumphant smirk playing on her lips. Brave? No. That's failure, and you brought it here to smear others. The unmasking was complete. Jake Sullivan interjected, his voice tinged with panic. Karoline, Rosie, we... But Rosie, her face flushed with a furious mix of confusion and indignation, finally found her voice. Her raspy, booming cut through the New York studio's lingering applause for Leavitt, a desperate, raw roar. This kid thinks she can school me on truth, Rosie yelled, taking a wobbly step toward Leavitt, her finger jabbing accusingly. I'll show you who's the loser here. Rosie raised her mic high, her eyes blazing with an almost unhinged intensity. You say I'm washed up. Who are you to say that, Karoline Leavitt? A 27-year-old Trump puppet who hasn't lived. Enough to know life. She swung to face the crowd, desperate to reclaim their allegiance. I was here before she was born. I built my career with sweat and tears, not by riding Trump's coattails like her. Rosie's fans, invigorated by her renewed aggression, clapped loudly, but Leavitt stood still, her eyes sharp, her composure utterly unshaken. Rosie jabbed her finger at Leavitt again, her voice escalating. You flashed Trump and Melania pics? I don't care how long they've stood together. I care what really happens behind Mar-a-Lago's doors. He's a cheat and adulterer, and Melania knows it. She's just staying for the money. Leavitt's lips curved into a smirk, about to reply, but Rosie, fueled by a renewed burst of manic energy, kept going. What are you defending, Karoline? A guy who's gone bankrupt 4 times, accused by dozens of women, and now plays the perfect husband. I laugh at your truth. Rosie stepped even closer, her voice hard, laced with venom. You say I failed? Sure I failed, but I don't pretend. Like Trump, I don't sell lies to a nation. Her fans leaped up, cheering loudly, while the MAGA crowd roared in protest, a cacophony of fury. Then Rosie turned her full, unfiltered vitriol onto Leavitt's personal life. Oh, and you brag about your strong family? Your husband's 32? Years older than you. Like Trump, huh? Loves control. You're his mini-me, Karoline, a little puppet for a narcissist. Rosie's fans guffawed, one yelling, Rosie burned her. But Leavitt didn't flinch. Her eyes gleamed with a cold, terrifying confidence. Rosie, you want to go personal? Leavitt fired back, her voice low but cutting like a surgeon's scalpel. I'm proud of my family, a loving husband and a healthy kid. You? 2 divorces, feuding with your own kids. You've got no ground to talk about mine. Rosie's smirk faltered, but she tried to regain control, puffing out her chest. Proud? You're just Trump's mouthpiece. Without him, you're nothing. At least I stood on my own. Didn't need a guy like Trump for fame. She faced the crowd, raising a hand. Folks, she's defending a fraud. I'm here to expose him. Trump's no family man. He's a family wrecker. Her fans cheered, a desperate rallying cry. But Leavitt cut in, stepping closer, her voice firm and uncompromising. Expose what, Rosie? All you do is make up stories and laugh at people. That's all you've got. Trump built a family and a country while you wreck everything you touch. The MAGA fans stood again, their chant of Karoline, Karoline echoing through the studio, drowning out Rosie's diminishing supporters. The showdown escalated, the two women just steps apart, locked in a brutal personal war. "You think I'm jealous?" Rosie yelled, her voice hoarse, verging on frantic. "I don't need to envy a guy like Trump or a puppet like you. I'm telling the truth you can't face." Leavitt shot back, her voice icy. "Truth, your truth is lies and cheap laughs. I face truth every day, the truth that millions trust President Trump while you're just a has-been clinging to faded glory." Rosie tried humor, a desperate last resort. "You call me washed up? At least I had a prime. You're just Trump's shadow, gone when he falls." Her fans laughed weakly, but Leavitt shook her head, a cold smile gracing her lips. "A shadow? I'm the voice of truth. You're a relic, Rosie. Trump fall. He's stronger than ever while you're crumbling right." "Here!" MAGA fans cheered, one waving a Rosie done sign as Rosie's face contorted in a mask of impotent rage. "You don't get it, kid. I fight for justice." Leavitt cut her off, her voice ringing with finality. "Justice! You fight for your ego, and you're losing bad." The MAGA applause drowned out Rosie's fans' weak shouts, and Jake Sullivan's voice, panicked, yelled, "Both of you, calm down." But no one listened. The personal war had officially consumed the stage. "You can't silence me," Rosie yelled, her voice raw, verging on a shriek. "I'll keep exposing Trump." "Keep going," Karoline Leavitt fired back, her voice a cool, cutting whisper that sliced through the pandemonium. "I'll keep shutting you down, word by word. These people know who's real." The MAGA fans, a loyal legion, stood again, their cheers filling the studio like a battle cry, while Rosie's supporters quieted, some finally bowing their heads in a silent admission of defeat. Rosie gasped for breath, clutching her microphone, her eyes flickering between rage and despair. She had thrown everything, personal attacks on Trump, venomous barbs aimed at Leavitt's own life. But Leavitt hadn't just held her ground. She had hit back harder, relentlessly. Jake Sullivan interjected, his voice frantic, pleading, "Both of you, let's—" But Leavitt raised a hand, stepping even closer to Rosie, her gaze unwavering, her voice low but sharp, slicing through the New York studio air. "Rosie, you just tried to fight back, but all you've done is dig your failure deeper," she stated, her gaze unrelenting. "I'm here to end this farce, right now." Leavitt turned, signaling for silence from the still roaring crowd, her authority now absolute. "Rosie, you call me Trump's puppet." "Wrong! I'm White House press secretary, chosen because I speak truth, not because I needed a boost like you once did." Leavitt's voice gained strength, firm and unyielding. "You dragged my personal life into this." Her eyes, sharp as a predator's, bore into Rosie. "You say my husband controls me. No, Rosie, I control this stage, and I'm controlling you right now." Leavitt took another deliberate step closer, her voice low but commanding, a final, inescapable pronouncement. "You say you fight for justice? No, Rosie. You fight for your ego, and it's crumbling before everyone's eyes. Trump's a man of family, of country. You're just a washed-up comedian jealous of what you'll never achieve." Rosie stumbled back, her face ashen, her voice breaking, a faint, desperate croak. "You can't—" But Leavitt didn't let her finish. "I can, and I am. You want to expose Trump? I'm exposing you. A loser living off lies and cheap laughs with no right to stand here." Leavitt turned to the crowd, raising a hand with the undeniable authority of a victor. "Folks, Rosie thinks she can take down the president with lame jokes and a garbage clip. But I'm here to tell the truth. Trump and Melania are symbols of strength. Strength she'll never understand because she's too busy failing." She pointed directly at Rosie, a final, annihilating gesture. "You say I'm a shadow? No, Rosie. I'm the light, and you're the darkness fading away. America knows who won, and it's not you." MAGA fans stood again, their cheers booming through the studio, a tidal wave of triumph. Rosie stood there, her microphone limp in her hand, her eyes vacant, staring into nothingness. "I'm not losing," she muttered. A barely audible whisper, but her voice faded, utterly drowned by the relentless MAGA applause. Leavitt, a serene smile gracing her lips, stepped to the stage's edge, surveying the scene of her absolute victory. "Rosie, you were wrong. You wanted to destroy. I just destroyed you, and I'm done." The MAGA crowd's cheers thundered, one voice shouting, "Karoline's the champ!" Rosie's fans fell completely silent, a smattering of them already leaving their seats, heads down, walking out in shame. Leavitt turned back, giving Rosie one last, definitive look. "Keep your mic, Rosie, but I've got the win. America knows who's real and who's finished." Rosie, her hands trembling, dropped the microphone onto the table with a soft, defeated thud. Wordless, defeated, she stood as Jake Sullivan, amid the chaos, desperately called for a break. The American Pulse stage lights still shone, illuminating. Karoline Leavitt, standing tall in the center, her confident gaze sweeping the audience, while Rosie O'Donnell slumped in her chair, the mic idle on the table, her face buried in silence. The battle was over. The American Pulse's stage lights, though the segment was officially over, still shone on Karoline Leavitt, standing tall in the center, her confident gaze sweeping the stunned audience. Rosie O'Donnell remained slumped, in her chair, the microphone idle on the table, her face buried in silence, a picture of utter defeat. MAGA cheers echoed through the New York studio, the crowd standing and clapping non-stop, waving "Karoline rules" and "Rosie done" signs like triumphant flags. But the battle didn't stop within those four walls. It spilled out, and the world exploded with instant reactions to Leavitt's crushing victory. Seconds after Leavitt landed her final blow, Twitter X, now a literal digital battlefield, ignited. Karoline destroys, Rosie rocketed to global trending, status overtaking every other topic in under 5 minutes. Tweets flooded in. "Leavitt just wiped Rosie out. This clip's gold." And Rosie got KO'd by Karoline Liv. One user posted a 30-second video of Leavitt's finishing move, captioned, "When truth crushes comedy, Karoline's a legend." The clip hit hundreds of thousands of views within minutes, spreading like wildfire across every platform imaginable. MAGA fans tweeted, "Karoline gave Rosie her last lesson. Trump's proud." While a neutral account even conceded, "Not a Trump fan, but Leavitt's unstoppable. Rosie had no shot." Outside the studio, MAGA crowds gathered at the building's entrance, waving "Leavitt is the future" and "Rosie loser" signs. They chanted, "Karoline! Karoline!" as passing cars honked in support, adding to the joyous din. A small knot of Rosie fans stood apart, holding "Rosie's still queen" signs, but their voices faltered, drowned by the rival uproar. A passerby, live streaming on TikTok, shouted, "I just saw Rosie get crushed by Leavitt. New York's going wild." The video racked up tens of thousands of views, with comments like, "Karoline's a tornado, Rosie's toast." Media outlets jumped in instantly. Fox News cut into programming. For breaking news, host Sean Hannity practically laughing as he declared, "Karoline Leavitt just schooled Rosie O'Donnell. This is truth beating Hollywood lies." They replayed Leavitt showing the Trump-Melania photo, praising, "She didn't just defend the president, she defended American family values." Meanwhile, CNN tried desperately to spin it, host Don Lemon frowning, "Rosie tried to expose Trump, but Leavitt played too hard. A tough loss." Their take, however, was buried under the overwhelming wave of support for Leavitt. Even neutrals admitted Rosie was outmatched. Rosie exited the studio through an emergency door, head low, dodging the waiting press. A reporter yelled, "Rosie, any comment?" But she shook her head, hurrying to her car, her face pale, drawn. Her few fans nearby tried to console each other, one saying, "She'll bounce back. Rosie can't lose forever." But online, they were mercilessly mocked. A tweet read, "Rosie fans still defending? Leavitt shredded her. Deal with it." A meme spread. Rosie slumped in her chair with the caption, "When you think you're queen, but Karoline dethrones you." The studio stayed electric even during the break. Stagehands rushed around whispering, "Never seen a showdown like this." A clip filmed backstage showed Leavitt stepping off stage, immediately swarmed by MAGA fans for photos. She smiled, shaking hands, her voice steady. "We won. Thank you all." The clip instantly went viral on Instagram, with comments like, "Karoline didn't just crush Rosie, she crushed Hollywood." Karoline Rules dominated Twitter X alongside Rosie O'Donnell and Karoline Wins, with tweets like, "Leavitt just made Rosie history, MAGA wins big." Leavitt returned to the White House the next day, greeted like a hero by staff. An aide tweeted, "Karoline walked in and the room erupted. She's our warrior." She appeared at a brief presser smiling. "I didn't just defend the president on that stage. I defended the faith of millions of Americans. Rosie lost and we won." Her statement replayed across channels, cementing her as MAGA's unshakable voice. MAGA fans online hailed her. "Karoline's the future. She crushed Rosie and made Trump proud." One wrote, "Leavitt 2028. She's ready to lead." Rosie, meanwhile, vanished from the spotlight. Sources said she cancelled upcoming gigs, dodging interviews. A Variety piece noted, "Rosie O'Donnell was once a comedy icon, but after facing Leavitt, she may never recover." Her fans' voices faded, and Rosie O'Donnell kept trending with memes and remix videos of her defeat flooding TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. A standout video, Rosie dropping her mic with "Game Over," garnered millions of views, with comments like, "Rosie picked the wrong fight, Leavitt's unbeatable." A Breitbart piece called it a symbol of America's divide, with Leavitt as MAGA's flame and Rosie as a gust that's gone. Even neutrals conceded Rosie had no chance. Leavitt's too smart, too sharp. This clash wasn't just a TV fight, it was a milestone, marking Leavitt as a rising star and Rosie as a permanent loser. Leavitt stood in her White House office, gazing out the window, more confident than ever. She knew she'd conquered her biggest test, not just defending Trump, but carving her own legacy. Her phone buzzed with a text from Trump. "Karoline, you were amazing. Keep fighting." She smiled, ready for the next battles. While Rosie, somewhere, in silence, knew she'd lost not just on stage, but to the world. The story of Karoline Leavitt destroying Rosie O'Donnell starkly reflects America's deep divide today, where politics, media, and social media collide to shape public opinion. In it, Leavitt, a young MAGA figure, faced off against Rosie, a liberal Hollywood symbol, on the American Pulse stage. The fight was more than personal, it was a microcosm of cultural conflict. Leavitt defended Trump with facts and hit Rosie's personal failures, while Rosie used humor and emotional arguments to attack. The Twitter X explosion, Trump's praise on Fox News, and Rosie's post-loss silence show the undeniable power of media and the public in deciding winners. The lesson here for real-life America is clear. In a polarized society, preparation, strategy, and narrative control are key to success, especially in public clashes. Leavitt won not just with sharp arguments, but by knowing her audience, using solid evidence, and staying cool where Rosie let emotion take over. Learn from Leavitt. When criticized, don't just react emotionally. Build a strong case, stay calm, and target your opponent's weaknesses. In a social media-driven age like Twitter X, where the public picks sides fast, controlling your image and message decides if you're a victorious Leavitt or a defeated Rosie. Prepare well, because in today's America, every fight's a public stage. If this epic showdown captivated you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this story, share it with your friends, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And for more unmissable clashes and the latest in political drama, make sure to subscribe to our channel.